Alright, so I'm back again with episode 2 of this final year project diaries. I might be calling it that. Well, this is the second video. And I forgot to mention that I'm calling this software that we're building Simit. As in Simulate It. Sim it. In any case, yeah, I've got my Escalidraw window opened. Yeah, I like Escalidraw. They are not sponsoring this, but I like the way that they, allow you to draw stuff on canvas. So I'm guessing you guys can guess what we're about to do today, right? I am basically about to try and draw the whole architecture of the system. Yeah, as you can see, I have an empty canvas, so I sort of decided to clear everything and start again because like I said in the previous video, most of the things that I had already decided ended up changing. So it would be best to just start everything over again. I mean, I have some code already, so I know the initial part what I'm supposed to write, right? But after that, we are going to be improving the system architecture as the system architecture or software architecture. I have no idea. We're going to be building, improving whatever architecture as we continue to move on with the project, right? And I'm even calling it architecture, but maybe it's not architecture. So when you guys have a look at it, let me know if it's actually that's how they design system architectures and software architecture, right? I'm basically going to be drawing rectangles, specifying different components and what I am expecting them to have. It's not anything very fancy. And this video is probably going to have some cut inside. I don't know if I should leave them inside because I feel it will be a very long video if I do, because I'm coming to start everything from scratch. And maybe you guys might not want to watch that. Personally, I would want to leave them inside because I feel when videos are out there, it shouldn't be just the end product. How we go about writing things and cleaning it, all of those things should be part of the video. So yeah. Right. So I said software is going to have 3 parts, right? The GUI, the simulation backend, and then the middleware connecting the two, right? So I'm going to start with the GUI part of it, and I'm basically just going to draw a rectangle to specify the GUI, and would basically drill down into this rectangle and try and try and fit the aspects of this GUI, right? So there's a GUI, and inside my GUI we are going to have normal components which are not affiliated to any part of it. So like I said, the GUI has 3 parts, right? It has 4 parts, but then let's start with 3. It has a components pane, a canvas, and an attributes pane, and some sort of results pane also, right? But let's start with the components pane. So I should actually be labeling the stuff, right? So this is my GUI in pyqt, I guess. I'm actually using pyqt 6, so yay. I don't know what I did. Anyway, yeah, GUI pyqt 6. I should actually remove my face because I feel my face is spoiling everything. Or I should put my face at the top right corner. Yeah, I think that would be better. Hold on a sec. So yeah, I've made myself a whole lot smaller at the top right corner so that you guys should have the space to see everything I'm doing. So I was writing GUI in pyqt 6 at the bottom to specify that whole box is for the GUI, right? And then you have a components pane over here. So in here, well, I'm basically just going to say this is what component pane, and maybe write some stuff under it, right? So it has what a list of the components available, if I could just spell it right, and click on a component, it appears on the canvas. Well, this might not be the best thing that I'm designing right now. I'm sorry, but allow. Anyway, but that's basically it for the like a component being right. So there's like some sort of like communication using there is some sort of communication using pyqt signals to for the different components to like talk together, because they are actually separate components that have combined through a main window. So like there is a main window, and then the components pane would send a signal to the main window, and the main window is sort of like connecting that signal to a slot on the canvas, and the canvas like deal with that signal. So it's a canvas that's actually going to like take the component and create a component. This component pane will just send like a signal saying that this is the component that was selected, the resistor was selected, for instance. So you should like add a resistor to the to the canvas. Like that's basically it, right? So as I was saying, there are components. So I'm going to sort of have like a component pool or something of the sort. Let's see how I can do that. So I'm calling these components, and inside my component, like I'm going to create like a general component that is, should I say, from which other components will be created, because I believe all components are going to be similar. Anyway, components. Yeah, so the capital letters will like specify what the section is for, right? So components, and then there is a what, general. If I could just spell general correctly, and it's a general component, right? And this general component is basically just going to like give description of components that are there. So all components have the following, right? All components are the following. There is a unique ID for every component. So it could have, I mean, the component has a name, all right, but it also has a unique ID. So there is a unique ID, all right, but then there is also name attached to it. So the name is something like a resistor. All resistors will have the name resistor, right? But then the unique ID is something like resistor 1, resistor 2, stuff like that, right? And also the reason I'm writing this stuff like this is because of the fact that I'm going to be using the object-oriented programming for all of this, because that's what's best used. Like that's the best to use for like when you're dealing with pyqt, right? So stuff I'm writing here is like the attributes of the general component essentially, right? So there is like an all components. So like there's a general component, right? So all components have the following attributes, right? They have a name, they have a unique ID, and then they have a function. Like they have well, I discovered that I need a function that would return the terminals, the like where the terminals are at, because each component could have a terminal at a certain side of the whole like rectangle or resistor, right? Like for if you consider a resistor, the terminals would be the left and right side of it. That's if you are drawing it horizontally, right? So there should be a way to get this. And you see, what I've built already, I'm using graphics scene to basically manage this large number of components that will be there. And each each component is essentially a graphics item that would be on the scene. So the canvas is essentially a graphics scene, right? The canvas is a graphic scene, and the components are graphic items. So I'm basically going to be adding items to the scene. I hope that makes sense. I mean, without looking at the code, I hope that makes sense. But I'll try my best to like explain as I like write this architecture. Please allow me to call it that way. I don't know what else to call it. Anyway, so all components have the following, right? A name, a unique ID, and then they also have this function called get terminals. I've forgotten the name of the function, but anyway, they have a function like get terminals, which essentially allows you to get access to the points at which the terminals of the component is located on the scene. See, I said they are items. Like, I mean, the mapping of the components positions on the items themselves is different from how it would be on the scene. So it's like I'm mapping the components terminals from the components point of view, from the items point of view, and trying to like let it show from the scene's point of view. And this will allow me to draw like lines as wires. So if I'm able to get access to these terminals, the locations of the terminals on the scene, then I can draw a line from, like, I can draw a line between the two terminal locations, and that would be like my wire connecting the two components. I hope this makes sense, but that's the idea. So generally, this is like what a component is supposed to like have. And lastly, a component also has an attribute which I'm calling signals. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's an object. It's a signal object. Well, it's an object containing a lot of objects containing you. I think I should write it under it rather. That would be better. Object containing different signals. Yeah, so this is basically an object containing different pyqt signals as instances, right? So anytime I create an object, I want to be able to like send signals. For example, when the object is moved, I want to send a signal so that the wire would like check for the new terminal positions and connect where they are. For example, when the object is like selected, I want to send a signal to the attributes pane so that it would know which component attribute it's about to change. For example, if the component is selected or maybe it's rotated, I want to like send a signal to show like this is the component that's actually being rotated. Like these kind of things are there, right? So that's basically what the signal is supposed to be doing. So for every general component, I mean, this is what's supposed to be there, right? Or should I say this is what we have. I think I need to like give more space so that how do I even select everything here? Well, I just do this one. See what I'm saying? Bad planning. I have no idea what I'm drawing, so like I have no idea how the end is supposed to look like. So I have to like be tweaking stuff, right? So the thing is that from this general component, I'm using some sort of like inheritance, right? And I'm going to create 3 more components, or I'm going to create 2 more components from it, right? For now, I only have a resistor component, so I'm going to like just add that. We would like think of how we are going to create the rest as time goes on, right? So so we have a resistor, be like a graphics item, right? And this resistor is supposed to inherit from this resistor is supposed to like inherit from this general components that we have up here. So it would have like those same attributes, right? So we know that like the name would be a resistor, for instance, like those things are there. I'm not going to like go into them, but then the unique ID would be basically be a combination of the resistor the word register dash the count of the registers, like register 1, register 2, register 3, that kind of thing, right? But then it would also have more than like while over here, right? So it would have stuff like, you know, making sure that when I hover over the terminals, there is like a circle drawn around it. Like essentially I'm going to like draw the register over here, like physical appearance. Am I even spelling the thing right? Let me see. How do you even spell appearance? Let's see. Hopefully it's right. If it's not, I don't know. But that's if I even have internet to actually do this. I'm just going to check my dictionary then. Oh yeah, so it's actually right. I don't know, it looks kind of weird in my eyes. Anyway. So the physical appearance of the register would be, you know, let me just add it to this text so that it will be easier. So this will have like the physical appearance of, so a physical appearance, as in like having to like draw it and all of the dynamics that go into that, right? Draw the register. I think that's like the major thing, and then maybe some other signals that are there. But like this is how a normal component is supposed, like this is how the register is supposed to be, right? So we sort of like do some sort of inheritance here. Do some sort of like inheritance here, and this, I mean, you already know what these stuff are, right? So, or I'm assuming you know what they are. So after like creating this register component, I need to also like create a wire component. And funny enough, the current state of the thing, my wire components doesn't like subclass the general components. I don't even know why. It doesn't make sense. It should actually like subclass it, right? So I'm going to change that in this, like when we are looking at the thing. But for now, I am going to assume that it does. So I'm going to like make a copy of this, or I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to say like, this is like what my wire, or also a graphics item, and what a wire does, obviously it should also have a physical appearance, right? It should also have like a physical appearance. I hope you can even see what I'm writing. I'm trying to like zoom in so that you guys will see. Oops, that was too much. Anyway. So yeah, the way I will still have like a physical appearance, right? But then the most important thing is that it will take two, the wire has to be a connection between two things, right? So it will take two components. It will take two components, and they are, and let me write that down, and they are terminal indices. Let's say indexes, right? Indexes, right? Anyway, so the reason why you would take the actual component instead of just taking the locations of the the reason why you take the the actual component instead of just taking the locations of the terminals is because when the components are dragged, these locations change. But if the wire is created before the components are dragged, then the wire wouldn't like be fixed to the terminal. So I take the component itself so that whenever the component is moved, I send a signal, and that signal is also used, like for example, if the resistor is moved, the resistor sends a signal, right? So like that moved signal is sent, and in the wire, that signal would be connected to a function that would update the locations of the terminal. The terminal index is like terminal 1 and terminal 2, but I don't actually know the coordinates of it. But then you see, through this get terminals function, I'm going to get the actual terminals, and I'm going to like use the index to know if it's terminal 1 or terminal 2. But then the value is not definite. Like as I move the component, I send a signal and the wire will intercept that signal and then updates its endpoint. So in that case, it allows me to like make sure that the wires are connected. I mean, they are not just lines that I've drawn. I hope that this makes sense. But then this is like what we have right now, right? So I think this should also inherit from this, because I mean, it should only make sense that it also has a name, a unique ID. Maybe the signals might not be like used by it at that moment, right? But it's all good, right? It's all good, right? So basically, this is like the general idea when it comes to like the components, right? I don't know, but I feel like this should be like dotted lines or something, because like the actual component pin and stuff could be like full lines, but then these ones are like on their own, you know what I'm saying? And well, it doesn't matter anyway. So yes, so as we have the components pin over here, obviously we'd have to have like the canvas, right? But you guys should definitely like let me know, is this how they draw architecture? Is this how it's supposed to be? Like I feel like I'm doing something wrong, honestly. Like this is my first time actually planning out all of this. It's new to me, like trying to like manage a lot of things and figure out how everything is going to work together, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, so I'm going to create so yeah, I'm going to create a canvas here, right? But I think I should call this main window rather, because it is the main window anyway. Yeah, main window, and then like this is my canvas, right? So there would be like some sort of connection between this guy and this guy, and it would be through signals, right? So the signals and slots, right? I mean, I could just write a specific signals, right? So component selected, you know what? Let's make it nicer. Deleting that, and so right, this is my canvas, right? And oops, what did I just do? Oh, right. That's a thing on my browser. I don't know what this actually. I think it's bookmarks because I pressed B. Anyway, this is my canvas. And in my canvas, we are going to have like different functions, right? It is a normal queue widget, like a widget. I don't know how to describe that, right? But it's going to have a one function for adding components, right? So add component, which is actually a slot in my opinion. So the component pin would allow you to like select a component, and when you select a component, a signal would be sent from, oh, right. What the? I think I've done something. Hey, right. This shouldn't be part of this. Select a component. And when you select component, this is supposed to like send that component to this function. So there would be like so there's a connection between this and this. Where is it? So component selected signal. So there's a like component selected signal that will be called, and then that would like send a thing to this, right? So this add component would create an instance of component, right? Add that instance to the graphics view, and also make sure that it keeps track of it. Keep track of the component. So the thing is that inside my canvas, I have should I say a dictionary, a components dictionary. I don't know what I should use to write that. I mean, I could just write it, right? So I have a components dictionary, which basically is a collection of component ID, the unique ID of the component. So it has like unique ID mapping to like the actual component. So an instance of component. Like that's what the components dictionary is. Right. So when I say keep track of the component, it would use using components dict. Right. So it will use a component dictionary to keep track of the components, so that later when the data of the components and a lot of those things are thought of, like you can, when you click on simulate, for example, you have access to all the components that you have created and the data in all of them. Like I need to create, I don't need to just like add them to the canvas and like not keep track of them. I hope you get what I'm trying to say over here. So I think that even here, all general components should have a data attribute, like data being the should I say, how do I think of this? Like for the resistor, for instance, its data should be something like the fact that the resistance value. So like it has some sort of like a data, components data. I don't know if I should call it component data or maybe I should just call it data, right? I think I'll just call it just data because I don't know, that sounds nicer than components data. But I have not actually created that one yet, so I have no idea what's happening there. So yes, you select a component, the component selected signal will be sent to the add component, which would like add the component, right? So like when a component is added, every other thing that happens here is based on the nature of the component, because like based on the terminals, all of those things. For instance, yeah, that reminds me, the I need to add the control bar or the control toolbox or whatever. It's basically a toolbar actually, but then that's what we use, like add the wires, because the wire is not really a component, so like there's no point like adding a wire. I mean, so yeah, just send this down here. So yeah, like at the top here we have like the toolbar, which also sort of like, sends signals. But then if it sends signal, then it has to be connected through the main window, right? I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Spending time here trying to make this nice. Wow. Hello, yeah, that's me. Anyway, so yeah, the two sorry for taking your time anyway. The toolbox over here, or toolbar, currently has only one button. It has one that says wire, or should I say wire 2, and what that basically allows you to use like something that you can click on to activate or deactivate. Like you can toggle it. Toggleable, is that even a word? You can toggle it, like that's what I mean. Toggleable. Wow. And whenever it is toggled, like it doesn't matter what state it's in, Whenever it's toggled, it would send a signal to the canvas. So it would send a signal to the canvas, the whole canvas. I think I've done something again. Yeah. Whenever it's toggled, it would send a signal. How am I even doing this? Or do you just drag? Oh, let's try. I was doing the other way around. Anyway, whenever it's toggled, it will send a signal, which is not really a signal because the main window is essentially just going to say that, hey, whenever this is toggled, you see, this toolbar is actually part of the main window. So, like, it doesn't have to send a signal so that another thing would like direct it over there. The main window will just call or should I say, like, call some handler function. Let me write that into lines. Call handler function on canvas. So the canvas is essentially just going to like be keeping track of its state and knowing whether like it is selected or not, because it is only when the wire tool is selected that when you click on the two ends of it is only when the wire tool is selected that when you click on the two ends of two different components, you would actually like be able to connect them. That reminds me that I remember that the current thing that I have working actually allows you to connect the two ends of the same component. Logically that should make sense, but I don't think it's sensible. Right? It's like you're creating a short circuit or something. Anyway, I would pause here with my architecture, and like I think this video is getting very long, so like we'll just end this one here, and in the next video I'll show you the current code I have, and from there we improve on architecture and code, I believe that's what we'll be doing. Guys, this is my architecture. It looks weird, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for it's looking weird, but then please give me suggestions because I'm dying here. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.